Embarrassing sex stories. Let's hear them. The first time I attempted deep throating, boyfriend wanted me to shove his dong down my throat as he came. So like any good girlfriend I did just that when he gave the signal. I still have no freaking clue what happened, but it turns out semen really burns when it's gushing out your nose. You have to be careful, you could get brain babies. In college, I had the best kind of roommate situation. I shared a bathroom with one other guy, and we actually had separate rooms on either side of the bathroom. With that kind of privacy, I could have a lot of loud sex, and I did. One night I was sitting on the edge of my bed, with my girlfriend straddling me. It was that great kind of loud, dirty talking sex, and I started to spank her as she rode me. She loved it and kept asking for more, so I spanked harder as we got more and more into it. We got a lot of energy going, and I was smacking her butt pretty dang hard, until I spanked out of sync with her movement. My hand swung down as her butt moved up, and I ended up missing her entirely and smacking myself in the balls with full force. I doubled over and immediately fell off the bed, curled up on the floor, blinded by the sudden pain. My girlfriend had no idea what to do, and thought maybe a cold washcloth would help, so she ran to the bathroom and threw open the door, to find my roommate, pants around his ankles, dong in hand. There was an eternity of stunned silence as no one knew what to do or say. She slammed the door shut again, and that was the last time I saw my roommate that year. TLDR, I hit myself in the nuts during sex, and seconds later, caught my roommate masturbating to it all. Yes, I have posted this before. I was visiting my brother in Ohio. I went for a week, a bunch of family was there, etc. My cousin and I had a flight out the same day, so we shared a room near the airport. I decided I wanted to go check out the college bars. It was a Friday night before I left. I ended up at some goth club with a lot of awkward goth people that I felt too awkward to hang out with. Anyway, I make my way to this place called Scully's. It seemed like a pretty average club. Some local bands played. I hung around and just got crappy drunk. I make friends with some girl at the bar. She invites me to go upstairs and hang out with the DJ. With Last Call coming soon, and the venue dying down, I started getting friendly with the girl I met downstairs. We all head to some random bar nearby and finish drinking whatever we could. Last call, some random dude says come to my place. We'll keep drinking. So we end up driving 20 minutes to this random guy's place. The girl I met at Scully's friend is driving. We are completely all trashed at this point. We get to his place. She tells me to stay in the car while her friends get out. I do. We start making out and getting hot in the back of her friend's car. After a bit of drunken slobbering all over each other, she starts to give me a BJ. I lean back in the glory of it all, but after about 30 seconds, she stops bobbing. Everything okay down there? No response. I move the hair from her face. She is dead asleep with my dong in her mouth. I start nudging her. She wakes up, moves her mouth from my dong with a string of spit from her mouth. I'm sorry, I'm just so drunk. She starts back at it. Few minutes later, she stops moving again. I now lean back and start figuring out how the frick to get back to my hotel. That is, until a cop knocks on the window. I look at him in amazement as I start to remember there's a freaking passed out drunk girl with my now limp dong in her mouth. He opens the door, pulls me out and asks me what the frick I'm doing. I start yelling, it's not what you think, it's not what you think. The girl hops out and says no, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. I'm really drunk etc. The cop asks why we're there. We explain that some dude invited us and we just wanted to keep drinking. He asked said girl where her friends who drove were. She told him inside. He told her to go back inside. She goes inside, shuts the door. He looks at me. I'm scared shitless. He says did that girl really fall asleep in the middle of a BJ and starts laughing. He assures me it's okay, he just thinks it's funny. I ask him for the number to a cab company. He decided to give me a ride to my hotel half an hour away. TLDR. I end up in Ohio for family reunion. Meet some girl who later falls asleep while giving me a BJ in the back of her friend's car. Cop finds us thinking I was raping her and proceeds gives me a ride back to my hotel. Whoa, just whoa. I love that she continued after realizing she passed out. That's dedication. No sex was involved, but this was still traumatizing. A couple of friends took me out to my first strip club when I was 18. It was pretty hit or miss when it came to hotness and overall quality. In Connecticut, there is a law where strip clubs can either allow the girls to show everything and the club can't serve alcohol, or the girls can show just tea and alcohol can be served. This was the former, and the club made you buy a drink when you walked in the door. So I have my $5 Poland Spring in front of me as another girl walks out. She had kind of matted hair and was one of the types that takes all her clothes off straight away. My two friends decide they want to see what this girl can do for me. So they lay down 5 or 6 $1 bills in front of me. She saunters over, giving me the eye, and stands in front of me, legs open and crouched. She puts $1 in my mouth, then squeezes it out of said mouth with her tea. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Then she grabs my water bottle, unscrews the top, and sticks it in her pee. Somewhat more out of the ordinary. She squeezes it so all the contents go up yonder canyon. Then she withdraws the bottle. She then looks at me, clenches, and all of the water comes gushing out, covering me head to pants. Having been douched upon, I was pretty speechless. My friends were dying. I took 3 showers. So it was my 18th birthday. It was about 12:30 AM at my house, and my girlfriend of the time and I were laying on the couch watching a movie. My family had gone to bed earlier, and my girlfriend turns her head and says to me, "I'm going to give you your birthday present now." We start going at it on the couch, and everything's going well. We're in the spooning position, and there is a blanket covering us up from the waist down. Not too much motion at the time, just some good grinding. But I was balls deep in her. The room suddenly got lighter, but a very natural non-electric light. My eyes look up to see my mother, father, and sister with a birthday cake walking into the room, singing happy birthday, while I am balls deep in my girlfriend. TLDR. My parents sang to me while I was having sex. Long time ago, I was having a relationship with someone I shouldn't, so we were sneaking around. We were staying at a friend's place in Colorado. Very cool, rustic, fireplaces. Make sure the doors are locked because there are bears kind of place. We were sleeping in separate bedrooms, but in the middle of the night I decide, very unusually for me, to be naughty. So I shy myself into thinking I'm this uber sex kitten. Put on nothing but a bathrobe and sneak into his room. I slip out of my robe and under the sheets, where he's asleep, and climb on top of him, intending to wake him up mid-erection and embody this sexually adventurous fantasy woman I've created in my head. Whereupon he wakes up with a start, screams and pushes me off him, and off the bed, because, as he later explains, he thought I was a bear. This stellar moment was followed by wild confusion on his part. That is, "What are you doing? Why are you here?" Not exactly my dream scenario, and then me hiding under the bed naked for about 15 minutes in case our friend came looking to see what the yelling and loud thump was about. Although the sound of my ego deflating may have been louder. TLDR. Thought I was a sex kitten. He thought I was a bear. Already posted this on a similar thread a while back, but for those of you who missed it, it's my college graduation party and me, my whole family and a bunch of my friends are celebrating it in my backyard. We are having a good time drinking a few beers throughout the day, and the later it gets, the more crazy it gets. My friends, some family, and I are all half in the bag. I'm near blackout at this point, and all I can really remember is being behind my pool with this girl I was friends with, eating her out. Now in my drunken state I could have sworn that it was dark enough behind there, but when I awoke the next day, my father assured me it wasn't. Not only could he assure that, but about 60% of my family could. TLDR. I ate out a girl in front of my family. About 10 years ago, I took my GF to a small bed and breakfast in Harper's Ferry, VA for the weekend. It was really pretty up there, and being so far away from the city, you could see the Milky Way at night. So we're taking a drive around dusk when my GF spots an old Civil War cemetery. We stop, get out a blanket, a bottle of wine, and my big Maglite flashlight, so we can find our way back to the car. Needless to say, darkness and drunkenness combine well, and we start boinking away on old Caleb's burial plot. After I give her the best 20 seconds of her life, we're just laying there naked, enjoying the stars and the warm summer night, when a carload full of teenagers pulls up and starts walking through the cemetery, probably to do what we were doing, straight at us. The GF starts to panic because all our clothes are hanging on some headstone 4 graves away, and we're completely starkers. I tell her to sit back and watch the show. It's pitch black, so I figure that the kids' eyes haven't yet adjusted to the night. They were 10 feet away, obliviously coming straight at us. Just as they were 5 feet away, I jump up totally naked, turn on my 5D cell mag light right into their eyes and yell, "D, stop right there, you're under arrest." Well, they scream like a bunch of 4-year-olds and bust back towards their car, flying off in a cloud of dust. That's when I turned to my GF and treated her another 25 seconds of pure ecstasy. On the second round, I go the distance. So back in the days of high school, I was experiencing my first sexual encounters with my girlfriend at the time, and as we were both completely inexperienced, we had some troubles in the beginning. In the early weeks of our relationship, I coaxed her into trying to give me a BJ. She was hesitant at first, but she liked me so much she decided to give it a try. Looking back, I can see why she was hesitant. She had no idea what the frick to do. The night before, it was just like Christmas, and I was anxious to receive my gift. I think we can all remember the sheer excitement the first time a girl went down on you. Imagine how much I have built up this moment in my head in the T-hours till launch. I imagined I would transcend time and space, find enlightenment, and become immortal, all in one orgasm. My girl comes over and I am downright giddy. We sneak off to my room to do some kindling while my family is upstairs. We kiss and cuddle, but we all know what we were there for. After what seems like an eternity, the moment comes. She slowly moves down my body, and at this point I'm at about 110% hardness. She unzips my pants. I almost come. Out pops my member in all of its glory. She's taken aback as it's her first time seeing one. I'm impressed too, but more at how high my blood pressure must be to maintain an 11 Mohs scale dong. She takes a deep breath and puts it in her mouth. I can safely say this was the happiest moment in my life so far. Absolute bliss as I await the punster BJ I have envisioned in my head. I can't contain my excitement as I wait for what's to come. This moment seems to last forever. Wait, what? My mind snaps out of the bliss. Why is this taking so long to start? I look down. She's staring back up to me, dong in mouth, motionless. She just has it in her mouth doing nothing. She looks left and right as if she is waiting for the bus. In a complete state of denial, I lock eyes with her. I give her the raised eyebrow nod indicating, "You are cleared to start," but she responds with a look of confusion. Waves of emotion hit me. She doesn't know what she's doing, and I immediately panic. What do I do? Grab her head and move it up and down? Hump her face? Obviously my adolescent mind chooses to do nothing. We lock eyes for what seems to be about 5 minutes. Me just staring at her in disbelief as she looks back, dong still in mouth, wondering what the heck is going on. Eventually she takes it out and whimpers. It good. Again I panic. What the heck do I say to her? It was great? Do I draw a diagram? Do I show her the terabytes of pee on my computer? Well, you're supposed to ring. Oh yeah, I'll come right home, mom. She has to leave. I have to leave it here for now. There's a second part to this which is pretty epic. It's on TFLN actually. The Simba text somewhere in the top 10 is actually mine. I'll have to write that part in a bit though. Late one night when I was in college, I decided to go for a run. I jogged a few miles to a park, and I was feeling pretty good, so I decided to finish by sprinting up a really big steep hill. I get to the top, now feeling like I'm about to pass out, and as I stagger around panting and gasping, I look up and I see the fleshy shadow of 2 people tangled up on a blanket a couple feet away, clothes off to the side, looking at me and blinking. I'm so oxygen deprived that I'm seeing spots, so I can't help but lurch around them like a pervert, taking these enormous rasping breaths, while we stare awkwardly at each other. After 10 or 15 endless seconds I turn around and try to scurry away. The one that instantly comes to mind is when my boyfriend and I had sex for the first time after I started using the Nuva ring. He pulled out after a while only to find my Nuva ring caught under his foreskin. For some reason, It reminded me of those hoops that hang out of a bull's nose and I lost it. He's standing there with my birth control dangling from his peen and I'm just laughing my butt off. The mental image still makes me chuckle. My boyfriend stuck his fingers in me and felt the Nuva ring when we first started dating and thought it was an old condom I forgot about. He didn't tell me that he thought this until about 8 months into our relationship. When I was in the army I got very drunk and took a really cute girl back to the barracks. Turns out she was taking me to the female barracks, which are, get this, laid out opposite of the males. So after some pretty hot sex, I get up and go to the bathroom, which turns out to be the hallway. I hear the door lock behind me, and the chick is already in the shower. Can't hear me knocking. Had to walk back to my room naked past a platoon or so of female medics. They laughed. They cheered. I never ever lived that crap down. I was with a girl earlier this summer and things were going quite well. We were switching positions here and there, keeping it fun. In one of our position changes, she kinda flails her foot a bit, in a fit of joy I am guessing, and hits me square in the balls. I had not been hit that hard or so cleanly since I was about 8 playing soccer. With my balls now up near my nipples and an immediate desire to start puking my guts out, I tell her I need a minute to recoup. Sadly my junk decided it was not going to risk any other sort of injury and said it was done for the night. I tried to reason with my dong, but it was having none of it. The girl was so apologetic and was really trying anything to get things going again, but biology had other ideas. I ended up driving home with a case of bruised balls. TLDR. My dong took his balls and went home. I have so been there. Emergency. Surgery. Testicular trauma from your girlfriend during sexual play. Yep. I created a throwaway for this. Here goes. The girlfriend and I had nothing but bad sex so far in the relationship. Too many hard days at work. Too many minor scraps led to some pretty unspectacular sex. It was a doomed relationship, but I wanted to make it work. So I had her over, made a great dinner and we went to bed. She fell asleep watching a movie she wanted to watch, so I decided to wake her up with my erotic powers. I kissed and nibbled and removed her clothes when she finally stirred. She raised her arms above her head and I licked from head to toe and she purred like a kitten. She had a great figure and was now quite ready, as was I, hard as a rock. I was going to give her the best sex of her life. Songs would be written about this night. My past performances would be forgotten and we would write poems of this. Anyhow, I had my arms under her legs and was pointing, literally, toward her when she looked at me with her beautiful blue eyes, glistening skin and fantastic body and said, "Oh god, frick me now." That was hot. Super hot. Super duper exciting hot. Too hot. I came, like a fire hydrant, all over her, covering her chest, neck, chin, forehead and some of the wall. It was colossal. However, she was furious and stomped to the shower and left. End of relationship. Most of mine involve something gross or something needing medical attention, so possibly not so funny, but here are my 2 most recent disasters. 1. Guy I am with had surgery to pin in place a dislocated shoulder about 3 months previously. I forgot this. When riding him, I started getting a bit rough and pinned his hands back behind his head. Turns out his I am in agony as my shoulder just came out of joint. Face is almost identical to his I'm about to come face. So it was a couple of minutes and 1 orgasm. For me. Later, before I realized he was in a shitload of pain and starting to cry, I drove him straight to the hospital and realized while he was in Tridge that although I had dressed, I had neglected to clean myself up and combined lube and sexy juices had soaked through the seat of my white skirt. Bad day. 2. Going down on a guy, and he's getting a bit rough with me. I normally have zero gag reflex and a high pain tolerance, so no problem so far. What I didn't factor in was the food poisoning I thought I had gotten over the previous day. I vomited into my mouth. Tried to swallow it back. Unfortunately the taste made me vomit a second time, just as he pulls back and it goes all over my chest, his dong and the sheets. Obviously I was mortified, but he wanted to carry right on fricking me. Turns out it turned him on. Big style. I still can't decide whether I am more embarrassed about throwing up or freaked out that it got him going. The sex juice thing is funny. The puking on his dong and surrounding area must be a common occurrence. It happened to me and to someone else on this thread. Interesting. I was orally stimulating my boyfriend at the time when I removed my mouth from the situation for a brief moment and he decided to shoot his man juice up my nose. Between the inferno in my nasal passages and the feeling that I was choking, I was pretty sure I was dying. He literally fell off his bed from laughing so hard. This happened to me 2 nights ago. Husband wondered why I got out of bed and ran to the bathroom immediately after he relaxed. He started laughing pretty hard when he heard me furiously blowing my nose instead of answering him when he asked what was wrong. So, second year at university, this girl named Bonnie was bobbing up and down on my penis, doing a very good job at it. Anyway, so I CM, she swallows, and just as she is swallowing, my beautiful computer plays an update message from AVG extremely loudly, because I guess I left my speakers turned right up. Your virus database has been updated. I couldn't stop laughing for a good 10 minutes. She looked slightly ashamed. Would have been funnier if it was a vast pre 4.0. Virus database has been updated. In the middle of taking my boyfriend's virginity, his nose started bleeding right onto my face. I asked him if he was okay, and he said, yeah, it's just, my nose always bleeds when I get nervous. Cutest thing ever. The Japanese also have an explanation for bloody noses that is very appropriate to the situation. So I'm chillin' in my apartment with this chick friend of mine, who I've hooked up with on a couple occasions over the previous months, and finally after a few drinks, we ended up in the bedroom and clothes started coming off. She had mentioned earlier in the night that she's a squirter, and since A, that's a huge turn on to me, and B, I also excel at eating pee, I dove into her cooter like a thirsty Rottweiler drinking out of a toilet bowl. After a few minutes of my patented tongue jive, she came like a epileptic with a fire hose. It was pretty hot, and I'm a generous guy, so I decided I'd go back for seconds. This time I really went to town with my mouth and fingers and made her scream. Once again, she shot a healthy stream of girl juice right down my esophagus, but this time something tasted wrong. I thought the first time seemed a little waxy or something, but now I have chunks in my mouth. I turned on the light to the grim discovery that the two of us, my bed, the wall, the lamp, and speckled across the whole freaking room was blood, like as if I had just slaughtered a pig with a chainsaw. Apparently the bee was unknowingly just starting her monthly friend and I just swallowed half a pint of chunky period blood. So while I'm in the bathroom throwing up, she decides to turn on the radio to ease the tension. I suppose it was tuned to the local rock station, and go figure, what else would be playing right then? But she eats my cherry pie. This should be the ending to Twilight. So ended up seeing this girl whilst at uni, after a night without her flatmates, which I had not met at that point. We start getting down to business. After finishing I go to chuck the rubber Johnny in the bin, but she doesn't have one in her room, so I decide to flush it down the loo whilst still in the scud. Now her flatmates are out clubbing, so I figure I've got till about 2 AM at the earliest till they come back. I open the door into the corridor, use Johnny in one hand, Semi in the other, and all three of them are there, with their boyfriends. I panic, throw the condom through an open door into the kitchen and proceed to hide under the duvet. I was then made to get dressed and introduce myself to them. Awkward to say the least. Never did find that rubber though. TLDR. Flashed the GF's flatmates. Semi. Rubber Johnny. Scud. Tell me you're Scottish. Me and the girl I was seeing were real drunk. Got back to her mom's house from a booze cruise real late and wanted to have sex. Since her mom wasn't the biggest fan of me, we met when she barged into her daughter's room at 3 AM to complain about loud sex noises. We decided to it outside on her front lawn. We did our thing and then immediately passed out, buck naked on her front lawn. We ended up being woken up by her neighbor mowing his lawn a few hours later. This isn't embarrassing for me, but it sure is embarrassing for the girl. In college I was in a fraternity, and our house had a long hallway with all of the rooms across from one another. The president of the house lived across from me. One night, He's fooling around with his very high, very drunk girlfriend and she decides that she has to go pee. So, she gets up and heads off to the bathroom. At the time I was asleep in my room across the hall. While she's sitting on the throne, she realizes that she is completely naked. Apparently having a pot brownie and a few shots makes people forget about things like clothes, and her boyfriend was too drunk to care and too much of a dong to actually have stopped her. Luckily it was around 2 AM at the time and nobody had seen her go into the bathroom. So, after she finishes up, she checks to see if the coast is clear, and then makes a mad dash for his room. Again, since it's pretty late nobody sees her, except that she ended up in my room instead. Funnily enough, I didn't wake up. She can't just cross the hall naked though, so in an act of purely rational thinking she takes my shorts from off of the floor, puts them on, and grabs the first thing out of the closet that she can find, which happened to be my brand new suit jacket, with the tags on. She then decides that this isn't enough, and puts on a baseball cap and my sneakers. Needless to say, when she went back into his room, their fighting woke up the whole house, and I suddenly had a lot of explaining to do. He and I never really spoke after that day, although she and I are actually very good friends. TLDR. The gene that causes asthma in young children is the same gene that is responsible for shellfish allergies in adults. While she's sitting on the throne, she realizes that she is completely naked, apparently having a pot brownie. I briefly thought that was another way of saying taking a dump. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.